Yo, what's up, guys? We have a new patch, and with the new patch, there's a bunch of added things that there are to talk about. A bunch of them are dungeons, bunch of them are a whole bunch of stuff. So let's just look into that. So in this case, they mentioned before that we're going to have these monthly missions for getting all of these rewards. In this case, we do have the selection reward again for the runes. So that is pretty cool. That would look something like this. Just took it from the Reddit post, but you have these kind of runes, which actually have pretty good runes. Like the Despair one is pretty good, the Nemesis is pretty good, but the Swift is a slot 2, or the Will is a slot 2, which is also pretty darn good. So there's a lot of good runes to it, and it's pretty cool to have those rune selection things again, because were missing out on those like we thought earlier, so it's pretty good to have them. And we also, if we just clear all of this, we get a whole bunch of other stuff which is later mentioned as well, what kind of things we have to do to clear all of that, which is not too hard, I would say, and getting all of those is definitely not too hard. Definitely do recommend it to get this every time. Also, with the second step you have the choice one, and with the last step you pretty much have just whatever, that's just a random. Then we have some improvement in this where we can select whatever we want to hit. I thought it was already hitting the boss always, so I'm not really sure why that should be changed, but that's fine. We have the Abyss for Spiritual Realm. To be honest, I'm not even sure if I'm gonna make a video on it, because I don't really think anyone is farming Spiritual Realm, in all honesty, at least barely. You do need a few fight runes here and there, but Seal's pretty garbage. All of the other runes are pretty garbage, so I'm not going to be farming this all too much. It's mainly just for fights, so... And as far as I've noticed from this, I think the team that you were using for a B10 is probably also usable in here, which is still something along the lines of... I'm not sure if you maybe need a healer in there or some protection, but it's going to be that Seek and a Star, Rogue, and then a bunch of other stuff and that kind of stuff. But then something interesting which I didn't really expect to happen. We have a bunch of Cairo's floors being lowered in damage and in how much HP they have. And main thing is they greatly decrease the amount of HP and they increase the amount of defense. That means one thing mainly, additional damage from enemy max HP is going to be a lot worse. With that said, also a bunch of units like the Homunculus might still be very good, but is a little bit worse. Lin definitely still quite a bit worse. Shaman quite a bit worse. Luna, I think it's still kind of okay because of the perfect AI. But with this, you might think like, okay, what does that mean for my current team? Well, I did notice one thing, and your current team, if you're running this team same as what I run, it still works. There's only one change that you have to make. You have to make the Homunculus move in front of the Luna. The moment that you have the Homunculus moving in front of the Luna, the speed tuning is a lot more solid and it makes a lot more sense for the whole dungeon. Because in this case, well, the Tesha will pretty much always clear the ways if your Tesha is strong enough. But if your Tesha does not clear the ways, Luna's not gonna get her skills back. So that's the thing, like my Tesha, if your Tesha doesn't clear the waves, if your Tesha is not strong enough to clear the waves, the old style still works, because Luna can get her skill back in the third stage, yes. But in that case, it's not the case for me anymore, so I have to have the Homunculus moving first, just because of that reason that if he has to do a skill, it's not the Luna skill, because Luna cannot get her skills back pretty much. If your Tesha is quite a bit weaker, then you still can get away with it. I would also say that the rune requirements for this, because of that, is also a lot easier. And that is also somewhat sad for my save for Abyss thing, because I do notice that things got a lot easier. I also checked, for example, on the Dragons, a Spectra that did do 77k on the skill 2, now does 55k on the skill 2. However, that team did get improved by like 10% or like 25% in their run, and that was just a bruiser-ish kind of run on that Dragons on like another account. So you can see that these things just got easier. Also, I had some fails in this dungeon from time to time. Currently, I don't. Talking about the other dungeons, Dragons I didn't really try yet, but they might be possible to go for some kind of jewelry comp right now. Necro, I would definitely say that maybe the comp that I tried with the 2-star, the Miscellaneous Bat or whatever it's called, might be working a lot better right now, because if everything is just decreased in the stats, this might be a lot easier to get that for. So that is definitely an interesting thing. They also did nerf R5. As for the stats, I think that is a little bit later. Yeah, R5 is also nerfed for the stats. So that also becomes a bit easier. However, they also nerfed the Deborah, which is the Runesmith Dark. And I don't really care about this all too much. I think that this is a fair play towards the people that were, I would still say, overrating her. I don't think she was as good as people thought she was because she made her runes faster, but she also made it a lot more inconsistent. To be honest, with all of the defenses that they're slightly buffing, HP slightly going down, this probably will still be one of the stronger units. And people were already saying like, oh, she's going to be shit for your dungeons and blah, blah, that kind of stuff. No, I do think she's still probably for a fastest potential team. She's still best in slot because she makes other units deal more damage. Therefore, you have less animations if she doesn't move. However, will she fit in every team? I'm not entirely sure. She also didn't fit in my old Giants team. She's probably not going to fit in the current Giants team. But for Dragons, probably fits in there. And for sure, for R5, I do think it will still be a useful unit in there. And let's look at some things that other people did with testing. So this is a test of someone doing Deborah. And this is Deborah damage before and then also after. So as you can see with the test before on the Lucian, you kind of do the same amount of damage on a unit that doesn't have any defense. But as you can see here, the damage on a unit with a lot of defense does tend to go up by quite some. So I would say that in arena offense, if you go for an offense with Tiana, Silver, which has a guaranteed armor break, Pongbeak, and a or something like that. Wait, no, that doesn't entirely work. You need an armor break or you need an attack buff in there. Well, Tiana, Galleon, and then Deborah, Pongbeak, something along the lines of that, I think would do a lot of damage, and it's definitely something that would be very beneficial. I also, for the people that are wondering, like, does this still work in your R5 team? Yes, R5 is that nerfed that R5 most likely your old team will still work. So that's definitely not an issue. I'm not sure if I mentioned it already. If your Giants team doesn't work anymore, make the Homunculus move in front of the Luna and then your team is fine again. So that's the only team I think will break from all of these dungeons that are done right now. We did see also that people that had like a 60 seconds to 65 seconds, they went to a 40 to 38 seconds. So R5 is hugely nerfed. So that's a lot easier to step into R5, especially for beginner players. And maybe I can make like a faster R5 than my current time as well. But it's already like 24 seconds. It doesn't get that much faster than 24 seconds. But this is made quite a lot easier. Now we also have some improvements for mana stones. I definitely do notice that mana stones are pretty hard to come by on your beginner account. Mainly because evolving is different right now. And because the whole evolving thing is being different, well, you actually got an increase of 20%. That's a lot. Didn't even read that part. I only read the rune parts. But yeah, that's a pretty big improvement. But the part where you have to do evolving on beginner accounts is kind of costly and all of that kind of stuff. So they removed a bunch of things, but the thing that I'm looking at is, did they mention it here as well? No, I don't think they specifically mentioned. So talking about the Jason, so there was this Korean drama thing of some guilds being able to see everything from the enemy thing, and that was through the Summoner's War Rune Exporter. Or not the Rune Exporter, just the Summoner's War Exporter. And from that you could see specific information. There was a big drama in Korea, but they had a fix for it. But the fix is not that great. So with that, we actually have a post from Xandro, which you can read through yourself. It's on Reddit. And I will highlight a few things that are important. If you are using a Summoner's War Rune Exporter, you can still pull Jasons. And pulling Jason is simply, the only thing you have to do is this setting in settings. You have to untap this one. If it's unchecked, then you will actually still be able to get your Jasons in. However, it only allows to send the or to receive and to export the package of the Jason that we know to use for the Summoner's War Rune Optimizer. It doesn't work for anything else. And what does that mean? It doesn't work for anything else. Well, what does work? Swap still works, and that is pretty much fine. Like as far as I know, that's not an issue. We have the Swar Farm. Swar Farm still technically works for a bunch of things. They can still get all of the monster data because that's data mined through a different thing. So they can still get that data in there. However, there's a bunch of things that do not work anymore. SWGT doesn't work anymore. So The person that worked on SWGT, been talking to him quite a lot, been giving quite some feedback on that side as well, but that is definitely not working anymore because you cannot see the packages, which would see like, okay, what are the win rates against certain things? How is the map currently looking like? Any of those kind of things you can't see anymore. So rather than them giving a fix for Siege, which was supposedly unfair, they just removed a whole bunch of stuff that you can't see jack shit anymore. Also, all of the websites which I used for pretty much all of my tier lists to track data of RTA are gone. Like those will not work because they use those principles as well. And any of the other plugins that they were working with before. So, yeah. Big question is right now, is this stuff going to get to work again? The thing is, we cannot make this stuff to work. And Come to Us would have to make this stuff to work. And I'm definitely sure that a lot of the top end guilds were using this and are very unhappy with that. And let me definitely know in the comments if you're unhappy with that. We have to let ourselves be known that these kind of tools are useful for the game. They did mention that swap is useful for the game and therefore they let that one through. But there's a lot more things than just swap that is used from all of those data exports. Two things Come to Us could do. They could sit down and talk with the people that make these third-party apps and let them explain what kind of packages they need and also whitelist those packages, same as that the package for the JSON that we use for the Summoners War optimizer is now whitelisted and still goes through. If all of those packages still are whitelisted and then go through, that would kind of solve the problem. Another thing could be, because actually what they did was pretty much, rather than they had to blacklist like 2 or 3 small things in certain packages. They shouldn't have to blacklist everything. They blacklisted everything and then they whitelisted just one. If they want to go down that path, if they whitelist everything that the SWGT needs, or at least the big parts of it, same for RTA, the big parts of it, that would already help quite a lot. Or that would help a whole bunch. That would definitely be very nice. That would be very nice. Or if they don't want to go that route, Summoners War could use an API. And what does an API mean? That's just pretty much like a service which you can talk to and request data from based on your account, based on whatever happens in the game, based on all of those things. You can, a lot of those games I do know because I worked a lot with Guild Wars 2, different game, they had the API. They had like a battlefield kind of thing. You could see what kind of towers were available. And then you could see the timers on those towers and all of that kind of good stuff. And then you could make that into like a live map and that kind of stuff. And you could also export like the win rates of players and blah 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 in PvP. So based off that API, there were a lot of third-party websites, and third-party websites help a game to stay alive because there's more stuff to talk about. For me, like all of these videos that I made on tier lists are all pretty much involving these RTA analytical sites, whether it was mine at the start, switching over SW Arena, then switching over to MSW like ranking. Any of those sites are not possible with those. So definitely I would say that they have to go either or route, either whitelist more packages that people can still go on with their third-party software, or just make a complete API, and with that API we can gather all of the data and even make more websites because it's promoted towards like developers to make something like that. And it's literally free advertisement. That's the whole thing. Like it keeps the community busy. It's free advertisement for the game. There's just a whole bunch of stuff like going around that. So definitely curious to see what they're going to do with that. The patch, I would say, is kind of, yeah, I don't know. I'm not really sure if I'm too happy with the patch because I'm somewhat sad that R5 doesn't have any improved drop rates on the beast horns and the other things. I kind of was hoping for that quite a bunch. I think everything being easier is also, like, I can make new content about a new speed team right now, but is everything easier per se better? I'm not really sure about that, because we got everything very difficult, and then people complain it's too difficult. Oh, no, wait. First step is we are established in the current situation where everything is very easy, and then we're complaining there's nothing to do, it's all too simple, and then they give us Abyss Heart, and then people are like, yeah, but this is too difficult, so they reduce down the thing to make it easy again, and then we're gonna be at some point like, yeah, this was too easy. Oh man, it's so hard to please all of us because we're so much in contradiction with one another of what we would like to see in the game and whatnot. So yeah, let's see what they do from those kind of things. Definitely not happy about the thing where all of the data is not visible and all of the, but pretty much anyone that worked on any of those tools threw away like years of development, because those people like SWGT, I do know, has been working on it for 4 years. I do know MSW ranking has been working on it for like 2 to 3 years. SW Arena GG worked on it for a bunch of years. So there's a lot of very good websites made by all of that data that was visible, and that's no longer visible right now, which I definitely do think is very sad. So at least swap still works, at least we can still pull Jason, at least we can still do the optimizing thing. However, yeah, I'm not too sure if we should be happy with just those. So guys, that's it for this patch pretty much. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about it. I'll probably be crafting some more dungeon teams because I have some ideas in mind, definitely for Necro and for Dragons. Giants is still kind of the same thing. You just have to switch the Homunculus and the Luna in turn order. And then that's probably still kind of the strongest Giants you can make. Probably I'm over, not thinking about something right now. We probably will have a faster team at some point. But yeah, those two things. SR, I don't really care about. Like, I don't need more fight runes. I farmed like 2 months of fight runes like 4 years ago. And I don't need more fight runes than that. Seal runes are, in my opinion, pretty much garbage. And all of the other runes are shite as well. So I don't really care about that dungeon all too much. I might make a guide video on it just to make a video on it. But in all honesty, I might even not. I would maybe just borrow someone's account of someone that has a good team and just make the video just to have the guide, just to be complete, to have that in there. So if you have a solid team, free to play, whatever on SR. But in all honesty, I think whatever you used in B10, you can just bring to Abyss Heart on that one and it still works. So yeah, that's pretty much that for that dungeon and everything. Hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely do let me know what you think about this update, especially on like all of the data stuff that's been removed, and hope to see you as always in